everyone? All inspired?
Yes.
You know what? I think congratulations. You're sitting here, meaning you are on your way to the paths of a C-suite because you already have that awareness, right? Congratulations. And today I'm going to share with my path as well as a few tips how I got into the C-suite within 10 years of my graduation. Let's get started. All right. All right. Okay, what does the A to C mean? Meaning A players to C-suite. That's what my company's name is, A to C Academy. We help A players get into the C-suite. I assume all of you are players, otherwise you wouldn't be here. All right, this is my journey. So I came to the United States with $45. It's literally $45. And a friend was so nice, offered to pick me up from San Francisco airport. Unfortunately, he got a speeding ticket of $200. So literally, I lost all my money. And of course, I had the kindness from my friend. I lost all my money when I arrived in United States, literally within 4 or 5 hours. You know, that's, you say, $45. What is the big deal? You know what else went down the drain with that $45? What's the security? What's the confidence? You know, when I graduated from Beijing University, I felt like that was like graduating from the Harvard of China. I had a very high confidence, and everyone looked at me, so, oh, she's a superstar. But when I came to the United States, within 5 hours, I went down the hill to the bottom of the hill as a victim. I was wondering, did I make the right choice? Did I just come here to pursue my dream, or is there any hope? I felt like I was trapped in the shell that of maybe 5 years old because I was only able to communicate in English at 5 years old, kind of a capability. It was like, what is this flower? Is this a grass? You know, it's just very fundamental. Of course, I was able to read and write, okay, but I was not be able to communicate. And I was trapped. And I remember that one day my car broke down. I sat on the bus stop, and I just felt so depressed. And then I saw ads. You know, in the old days, you cut all the bottom with the telephone numbers, right? I said, free English tutoring. I said, well, maybe that is the way for me to really unleash myself, to get back to the capability to communicate at some 20 years old capability, right? So I took action. That evening I called. You know what I did? I met my mentor of life. We're still talking to our 200-some students last night via Zoom. So she really helped me a great deal. So I started at IBM. I became a C-level executive. Well, actually, at IBM, within 2 years of my graduation, I became a manager. And I was put on the fast track, and they were wondering, should you go to the management or should you go to the technical? So they said, well, just put you on both. And I wasn't sure either. But however, she really helped me to get back to the top, at least mindset-wise. I'm going to share with you how did she help me. Right? Get back from this victimized mindset, struggling kind of a mentality, back to the top, like I have the confidence I can make it. I can be the C-level executive. I can contribute more, can add more value, right? So then in 2005, within 10 years of my graduation, I became a C-level executive, corporate officer, and really made big calls in leading a few hundred people, and including driving revenue, right? And then in 2005, I felt lonely. If you just rewind back in 2005, not many women was able to be in the C-suite. And Pat and I got together and say, we need to do something. So we started to give talks starting in 2005, and in 2011, we started to teach the same class, the 10 Steps to a Successful Career at Stanford University for 6 years. We also wrote the book. This book was a challenge for me. Why is it such a challenge for me? Because this is the second challenge, not only to speak in English, but also write English, and also document the best practices from the last 15 years of practice, or 10, 15 years of practice. And it's still on Amazon. So then I went through Stanford, and I became the C-level executive at the BMC Software, and then we went to Thailand and became this $77 billion CTO, and then I became a public company board member. And in 2000, when the pandemic happened, many kids did not have a computer to go to the digital class, right? We have Pingyu here. She works at LinkedIn, and she's one of the volunteers, really help people and help us to raise money to get computers for the kids, right? And after that, I said, you know what? I want to take my Stanford class and put it online and really start to coach people and to help them get into the C-suite. Because in the last 15 years, we felt the 10 steps we taught is a repeating pattern for many of my mentees or students, right? So that's how we started a company called the A2C Leadership Group, try to help people who have the motivation, who had a commitment, right? And this is Pat. Pat retired from AT&T, retired from her chairman and the president role at the senior college, and now this is the third time she's working with me and then really coach people 3 times every single week interactively, on Zoom, of course. So then we said, what are we going to do? Are we just going to do that for a little bit of fun? We said, you know what? We want to make 10 years commitment. We really want to help 100,000 people to get into leadership position and have 10,000 people to get to the VP level. And that is our commitment. With that commitment, we're doing that day in and day out, right? So here's the question, all of you. Probably, I got asked almost a single week or single day to say they feel like there's an invisible ceiling on top of their head. Raise your hand if you feel like there's a ceiling. Anyone? Okay. Majority feel like there's a ceiling. And then we're going to talk about how to break that ceiling later on. And then, do you feel like at this point that because of the uncertainty of the economy, that there's some insecurity inside of you, or you feel like your job or your growth potential is not there, right? Do you feel that? Yeah, you do feel that, right? You know what is the real problem? You haven't made the shift in your mind. So today we're going to talk about some shift. We don't have time to talk about all of them, but we're going to certainly talk a few of them. So one thing that I must say that insanity is about doing the exactly same thing, expecting some different outcome will appear. Just like if you keep doing your IC role, doing the exactly same thing, even though you're doing 2 or 3 people's job, you're not going to be the manager. You're not going to be the director. You're not going to be the VP, because what you're doing is not at that level. And you don't have the opportunity to to practice the schedule, you don't have the opportunity to demonstrate you have acquired such skill, right? So this is one thing that you can search on internet. It's called the Peter principle. At the beginning of our career, we have enough knowledge, we know enough things, we get a promotion, we go in promotion, suddenly, senior, principal, and then manager level, you find out, hey, I reached the ceiling. Why? Well, I got all the promotion by doing the same work, doing two people's work, doing extra work. How come this time I'm not getting the promotion? Because you got promoted to the level, you start to show your incompetence. Usually, when you're looking at this level of incompetence, is about communication, about leadership, etc. So we're going to unpackage that a little bit later on to say, what are exactly things missing that you reach such ceiling? How can we break this, right? So let's look back. What happened in our career, right? Oh, in our life. When we graduate, before we graduate from our graduate school or college, you know what we learned? What we have been trained is how to get A, how to find that perfect answer. The answer's already been developed. You try to memorize, try to listen, try to take notes, try to get that perfect answer. As long as you get a perfect answer, you get an A. That's exactly the same thing that Peter's principle in the first few levels. As long as you're doing a perfect job, that your boss knows that exactly result, you're getting that, right? But you know what? We spend so much money. I talk to my niece, I say, how much money do you expect to spend on your kids? He said, oh, probably around $1 million by the time that he's going to graduate. He's only 7 years old, of course. Adding the inflation, et cetera, but you know what? We're going to spend so much money. Let's say you spend maybe $200,000 on yourself. So now you learn all the knowledge, you know how to get A's, you know how to take notes, working hard. You know what? Now you're at work. And usually people don't spend much time on the training, don't spend much time on the coaching. But you know what? The real leaders, real winners, they spend a big chunk of money to really train themselves, to really break the ceiling and try to learn from the best. And that's the difference. The A players spend less than $500 on their training, leadership, presentation skill, communication skill, but the real winners spend that much money. And then you know what? All the skills how to get A's, and we don't understand the rules, what's happening in the corporate. We don't have the skills. It's almost like, you know what, you know how to walk on the land. Now, corporate is like an ocean. You don't know how to swim. How about just jump in? I expect you to swim across the Pacific Ocean. Suicidal kind of activity. This is where you get a ceiling. Because if you really know what's going on, you may not swim. You may get on the fast boat. You may get into the different way. You may fly over that ocean. But because we only learned how to walk, how to run, how to drive on the land, we didn't know how to do the swimming. This is how you run into the ceiling, because you don't know how to do that, right? Now, I really like that, because I spent over $200,000 investing in myself, and to really learn from the best people, to really hone the skill where I feel I was incompetent, right? So let me tell you a story. This is one of the stories I told my son. And I said, you know what? There used to be a general. He was very good at everything. So he retired from the military. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn how to shoot an arrow 100% all the time. So he practiced. he only can reach the 98%. So he said, you know what, I need to learn from somebody. So he searched around, he found a master who lives in the forest. He said, you know, this guy can do that 100% all the time. So he traveled far away. He went to that forest. He saw the arrows all over the place. All the arrows was right in the middle of the target. So then he saw this big barn. He said, this must be it. So he knocked on the door, said, Master, master, are you home? This old man came out and said, young man, what can I do for you? I really want to learn how to shoot my arrow in the middle of the target 100% all the time, because I want to be the best, I want to be perfect. He said, sure, I will definitely teach you. Then he said, how long should I stay? He said, 5 minutes. 5 minutes? 5 minutes? He said, yeah, sure, wait here. So he went back, he got his arrow and a bow, he walked around his big barn, he saw, you know what, this is an empty spot. So he shoot. And he said, wait, what is going on? So this old gentleman went back to his home, got a little paint of a red paint. He carefully drew a circle over there. This guy said, you are cheating. You are absolutely cheating. You're shooting the arrow first, and you're drawing the circle around it. Right? And this man said, you know what I did? I first surveyed around. I found an empty spot. So I tested with my arrow. That sticks. Then I drew the circle around it. This is not cheating. So then I explained to my son, who's a PhD student at the CMU. I said, you know what? This is a very different mindset, because this is a business person mindset. First, you survey the market, find the empty spot. You test run it, and you say, you know what, this sticks. This is a potential market. And then you draw the circle, say, team, let's aim there and shoot. You're motivating people. You're getting people together. And so this is why my son kind of pulling my leg, said, you know what, Mom, look at all the advice you give to me. I calculated, worth like a 3.4 million. I was thinking, does that mean that my advice is valuable? Or that means he was pulling my leg, said, Mom, you just told me too much stuff. Too many advices. I don't want to listen to anymore. But anyway, you got it. What is your mindset here? Are you the person that tries to shoot for things 100% all the time? Or are you the person willing to take the risk, find the empty spot, test run it, and then do the circle, tell the team, here is the goal. Let's all focus on this goal, get this thing done, and then generate the new services, new solutions, and add value to the company. This is the difference between your A player and C-level executive mindset. I want you to tell this story to 3 people. Whether it's your kids, your significant other, whoever, try to learn how to tell a story. And this is one of my moments of truth. Like, how can I tell people what's the difference? How do they break the mindset, barrier, right? So now, let's break this even further. Say, what are the skill sets you need to get into the C-suite? If you really want to know that 10 steps, you can definitely buy the book. And also, all the book preceding goes to Be the Change Foundation. So let's focus on 4 areas. One is think like a leader, think like an executive. We just talk about that. Next one is to look like an executive. And then last night, one of my students asked me, what do you mean, look like an executive? I said, let me tell you a story. I have a lot of stories to tell. This is the years when I was teaching at Stanford. One of the senior architects was in my class. She was always very proud of me. See, I can still wear my jeans. And when I had it from college, she was very proud of her figure, and even though the jean has a big hole there, she was saying, I'm cool. And also she said, one time I walked to the parking lot with her, she said, look at my van. This is our group happy van, and everyone's sitting to my big van to go to lunch together. And she opened the trunk, things fall off. And then the second time we met, she said, people don't treat me seriously. People don't take me seriously. I said, let me tell you why. Because you try to have image of you're still that college girl. You try to drive this big van, it shows all those random things in your car. They don't look at you as a leader. I'm not asking you to dress up all the time, but I'm asking you to dress like a leader, not dress like a college girl. She took this one very seriously. So she started to dress like the leaders, her boss's boss. And then, 3 months later, she said, I'm a director now. So literally, she jumped from a senior architect to director in managing 20-some architects. She said, switch the way I dress, switch the way I talk. People perceive me as a real leader. And they started to take my advice. Even, I was saying the same thing technically. In the past, they just ignored me. But now, they really took my advice seriously. So this is why I say, look like a leader, look like executive is very, very important. Because people will see you. They perceive you as a leader. Once they perceive you as a leader, they will give extra weight on whatever you say. All right, we don't have time to unpack everything, but I'm just saying that think like one, and then look like one, and then act and connect like one are the keys. You can ask me questions at the end, and we can maybe, based on your question, we can explain this one further. So I always love this quote. Wayne Dyer said, when we change the way we look at things, the thing we look at change. When you start to look at your kids as super talent, even though they're naughty, you still see them as a leader, you probably put them through a leadership class. When you see yourself as a leader, not like that college girl with that holes on the knee that, nothing wrong, by the way, nothing wrong to wear the jeans on Friday, but if you do that every single day, then people don't see you at that, right? But more important is yourself. Do you see yourself as the A player, try to get the perfect answer all the time? Or do you see yourself as a leader who can take the risk to discover the empty spot, to really get the opportunity to bring the team together to generate more value, right? That's the thing we look at a change. When that girl switched the way she dressed, switched her car, cleaned up her car, she already started to look at herself as a leader. She will not make the random joke like she used to be at the college. She will really start to behave like an executive, right? That is the power of how you perceive yourself. So homework number 2, all of you. Take a moment, think about it. What are you going to do? What are you going to change in terms of your look, your behavior, the way you talk as an executive, right? One more thing I really want to share is, many times in our life, we try to be perfect. But have you thought about it? You are our star. What does that star mean? Star means you have edge. You have strengths and you have weakness. I don't call the weakness as a weakness. I call it a signature, your signature. You are a unique you. So number 3, think about your strengths as well as your signature today. Tell your unique story. How can you utilize your unique strengths? How can you develop your unique strengths? Do not try to be someone like focus on your weakness. You know, the problem with only focusing on weakness, whether it's your kids or whether it's yourself, is destroy your confidence. And you will end up with many mediocre strengths versus in the first scenario, you're gonna have a lot of strengths. Only when you have a lot of strengths, you can penetrate. You can penetrate and really get into the opportunity that you deserve or you dream. Okay? So this is my book, and feel free to scan the code and get the book, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and definitely join the A to C movement. And then not only you're a great A player, you're A-class talent. You're on your way to the C-suite, and I'm there for you.